Hello, everyone. Welcome to ArtBreak at AMP. I'm so happy that you all are with us again. I hope you are joining us from someplace warm and cozy on this wintry, snowy day. My name is Desjay Duckett, and I'm the curator at the African American Museum in Philadelphia. ArtBreak is a chance to spend some time with us virtually at AMP, break up your day from school and work and meetings. You can hop on with us for an hour and then go back along with your day refreshed, hopefully with an artist in mind that you'll do a deep dive on later. This hour we want to spend sparking your curiosity about incredible artists and their work. For the past two ArtBreak sessions, we toured AMP's current exhibition, Rendering Justice. That's a collaboration with Mural Arts Philadelphia. And I mentioned last week that we would have special guests for today's ArtBreak. Well, I'm pleased to announce that for our February ArtBreak sessions, we have partnered up with our friends and colleagues at WHYY. They're right around the corner from AMP in real life, to bring you behind the scenes look at the latest episodes of Movers and Shakers. It is a truly wonderful WHYY original program, and it spotlights the lives of extraordinary people, past and present, from across our city. We are joined today by the producer of Movers and Makers, WHYY's Karen Smyles, in conversation with one of the subjects of the show, master printmaker, artist, mentor, Professor John Dowell. He's here with us today to talk about his series of work on cotton. We're so excited about this collaboration, and our thanks to Karen, to Naomi Brito, the whole staff at WHYY. I should mention that this is part one of a two-part series with HYY. Join us for the February 25th ArtBreak, where we're going to discuss the work of Philadelphia documentary photographer, Jack T. Franklin. Lastly, you don't want to miss the panel that's coming up at the end of this month. That's going to feature John Dowell and Ruth Naomi Floyd on February 24th at 6 p.m. Make sure you register for that. You do not want to miss it. Now I'm going to briefly introduce our esteemed guests. Note that you are part of this conversation too. So if you have questions or comments, please drop them into the chat and I will pose them to our guests. John Dowell's prints, paintings, and photographs have been featured in more than 50 one-person exhibitions and is represented in the permanent collections in 70 museums around the world and public collections. He is a Philadelphia native and professor emeritus of printmaking at the Tyler School of Art at Temple University. On a personal note, I've known John for getting close to 25 years now. And when I arrived at AMP in 2017, the first show that I wanted to do was to feature this profound work. And Cotton, the Soft, Dangerous Beauty of the Past was featured at AMP in 2018. And it was just such an amazing experience. I will never, ever forget that exhibition. Karen Smyles is an award-winning video producer for WHYY's documentary series, Movers and Makers. She has been a recipient of numerous awards, including Regional Emmy Awards, the Society of Professional Journalists, 2 first-place awards from the Pennsylvania Association of Broadcasters, and a National Freedy Award. Karen is also a Philadelphia native, a Temple alum, and we're so pleased to have her with us today. And now I'm going to turn it over to you, Karen.
Thank you, Desjay, and thanks everybody for joining us today, and thanks to AMP for inviting us to participate in this ArtBreak. Movers and Makers is an arts and culture program that's produced by WHYY. We are now in our 3rd season. And it is produced by myself, Naomi Brito, and Monica Rogozinski. And one of the best things about my job is I love arts and culture. I'm a former dancer. I'm a native Philadelphian. And I get to meet wonderful artists like John Dowell. And a quick story about my segment on John Dowell. I originally went out to do a segment on Brandywine Workshop, another wonderful arts organization here in Philadelphia. And John was just going to be featured in this segment as an example of one of the fantastic artists that Brandywine has worked with over the years. And I was so taken with his work that I decided to make a segment out of John on his own. And so that's how this segment on cotton came about. And you may or may not know about John is that he's not just a wonderful photographer, he's a wonderful painter and a sculptor. And it was very hard for me to decide what to focus this piece on because he does work in so many different mediums. But as we were talking about earlier, the exhibition that he had on cotton there at AMP a couple years ago was just phenomenal. And this series of photographs is just phenomenal. And so that's why I decided to basically focus on this segment. So in about 30 seconds, we're going to show you this segment that I did on John, which aired in a program that we aired last week. It is online, the entire program, so you can go back and watch if you like. And the program was about Black image makers, and it featured 4 segments. The first segment was about the Library Company of Philadelphia, which has an extensive collection of African-American images. Then it was John Dowell and his exhibition at AMP on cotton. And then we did the Jack T. Franklin collection, which of course is right there at AMP. And last we featured a fantastic young artist, and his name was
Isaac Scott.
Isaac Scott. Thank you, Naomi. How can I forget Isaac's name? Isaac Scott. So we hope if you have a chance, you'll check out the entire episode. But right now, how about if we share with everyone the segment that I did on John E. Dowell.
This is what I was told was perfect cotton. You see that star on it, on the bond. It holds that pod close, and then the cotton can build and build and build, and then it breaks and it pops up. The pod around the cotton on the edge of it becomes hard and sharp. When we had to pick, you had to grab that without scratching yourself because you can't get blood on it.
I'll be so glad when the sun go down. When the sun go down.
I have a grandmother, a big mommy. She's been dead 45 years. And all of a sudden I started dreaming about her. She used to talk to me about cotton and things that happened to her to cotton. At the time, I just so happened was having a show at the Telfair Museum in Savannah. And so I went 4 days early and got named to 3 farmers. And the first farmer said, I never forget him, he said, but you're a photographer of the city scene. What, you want to photograph cotton? I says, yeah. I says, I was just in North Dakota photographing corn. He said, you photograph live corn? I photographed for 3 days and I got emotional. I still get emotional. And on the second day, I just broke down and cried. And one morning I went up, I said, look at that. Look at the dew on the cotton. He said, oh my God. He had never seen it. And he says, you're really showing it's beautiful. It is a dangerous, beautiful plant, but it's beautiful. And he said, this has been in my family for 7 generations. And it hit me. Big Mommy took me home. I was introduced to art because I had an older brother, and whatever he did, I did. And he was copying comic books, so I copied comic books. I did the school art league on Saturday mornings and sculpture and a little bit of painting, and then I was in Central High School and I was an art major, and then I went to Tyler. I was a split major, ceramics and printmaking. All of a sudden, I was in Los Angeles. This is right out of school. And what was so crazy about it was I got on the airplane terrified, and I went, and they were paying me $100 a week. I was learning how to print, and an artist would come in, but it would be Sam Francis, Louise Nevelson, David Hockney, Nathan Oliveira that I'd be working with. And I was right out of school. I was like, woo! And by the time I got ready to apply for a job, there was only 2 of us trained this way in the country. I had 14 interviews. I was flown all over the country. I'd walk in one place and I'm in an Ivy League gray suit with a matching portfolio. And, I'm clean, wingtips and everything. And they still think, what are you delivering? I might come up with something else for this, but I liked that shot. Around 2005, I started using a camera. I said, I'm not going to draw the city. I can photograph the city. Now that started looking interesting. I was sort of documenting Harlem because it was disappearing and being gentrified. I happened to go by the Historical Society, and I walk in and there's a book on the shelf. This is Slavery, New York. I said, Slavery, New York? I've been going down south, risking my life to shoot this cotton. You talking about slavery here? I started making images, show the past and the present, and then I would superimpose something that referred back to that time on it. Seneca Village, an area that was mixed, but around 1857, they condemned the area and took all the property for Central Park. And then I started finding out things about Washington Square. Wall Street had the 2nd largest slave market in the country. And of course, Wall Street completely financed the whole thing. Had the big show at AMP, and I got a chance to talk, and very few people knew about Seneca Village, had never heard about it. And I've been mixing photographs of Harlem and putting cotton in them. One afternoon, I happened to discover that at 125th Street, Adam Clayton Powell, they were dancing. And I just shot and shot and shot. And in several pieces, I put cotton. They said, it's not right, they need cotton. Romeo Bearden did a very famous painting called The Block. And the block that was the subject matter of the painting, I photographed that block. I'm proud of that photograph. That's mean.
20, 30, 40 years from now, and people are looking at the work of John E. Dowell, what do you want them to get from it?
I want them to be knocked out by the visual, and they might pick up the story. But the story is not more important than the image. I don't sacrifice the image for the story. That's a piece of that blown, strange cotton. What I call the angels are coming.
My goodness, that is beautiful. Angels are coming, right? Whoa. You can just hear a song. We're leaving this place because the angels are coming. And I don't know if it's an angel of death or life.
Wow, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. It took me back to that incredible exhibition. I want to welcome our guests back to the room. This was Cotton 2018 at the African American Museum in Philadelphia was just so phenomenal. I remember there's something about that exhibition, seeing the images of it You had the visuals, you had the photographs, as we saw in the segment, but there was also, you know, in the kind of in the air in the museum, he also had spirituals playing. It was, you know, on a loop. So you were really just immersed into these photographs. The music was playing. There was, and this was pre-COVID, so we actually had bowls of cotton, of raw cotton in the galleries that people could touch and really kind of understand the feel of cotton. So, you know, I think being able to kind of walk in the artist's shoes through this exhibition was just something that was truly, truly, truly unforgettable. I also want to, as we get ready to bring John and Karen back to the Zoom room. There she is.
I'm back. I'm back.
These are the things. I'm curious to know, as you, you know, once you get into John's studio and start looking at these cotton images, they draw you in. They pull you in and they stay with you. I mean, they really do. So, mhm.
Go ahead. They really do. And there's so many different images. And you saw some of them there in the segment. And some of the ones, as a former dancer, I am a former dancer, and some of the ones that I was most attracted to is the ones that you see towards the end when John actually goes into Harlem. And as he said, he came upon these dancers one day and just shot and shot and shot the wonderful images. And it's just such a, you can tell that the dancers are just dancing with such joy. And then John decided to put the cotton in there. So I don't know if John is there right now, but if he could just talk about that a little bit. Those images that have the cotton in them, I think are just spectacular, as well as all of the images. And I think that when you're looking at these images, you just can't help but to be taken by them. As you said, when you had the exhibition a couple years ago, you probably had, would you say, one of the biggest turnouts you've ever had?
It was huge. And again, it seems like such another time when we could have, you know, 500 people over the course of an opening gathered, you know, in the building. And it was such a special, you know, special evening. And I totally, when you were talking about those pieces specifically in Harlem, with the cotton kind of bursting over the dancers and out of the buildings. Whenever I see those images, and you know, I'd been to New York after the exhibition, I can almost feel this cotton around me. You know, he infuses it. It becomes a spiritual conduit between John and the ancestors, and then between the viewers, between us and the ancestors who had been in that place.
It really does. Now I wonder, John, are you there? Because what I would like to know from John is like what he was feeling when he was watching the dancers out there that day, and the musicians who just seem to be having such a wonderful time. These are really great images. And the other thing is, it's kind of the reverse when John talks in the beginning about how he felt and how emotional it was for him when he was actually on the cotton plantations and they're shooting the cotton and having these conversations with the farmers who were actually looking at the cotton for the first time in a very different way than they had. thanks to John and the images. And one of the things that I wanted to know from John is like, did the farmers actually get a chance to see what he had done with the cotton and, you know, the works afterwards, and what were their impressions, and what did they think about what he had done?
Yes, I would certainly. Let's make sure when we get John back to pose that question, because, you know, I had no idea the stages of cotton that he captured, that first image of that eye, you know, almost looking, I mean, it's just amazing. And there was another image where I think it was the early cotton that looks almost like a rose. You know, it was like this flower, and it was completely unexpected for me.
I think that's true for most of us, including myself. I had no idea what cotton actually looked like, and that it actually goes through those stages. And as I think John said to the farmer, it really is very beautiful. Even though for many, especially African Americans, we have this not so beautiful memory or you know, of cotton. But it really is very, very beautiful to look at, and certainly beautiful to look at in John's images.
It really is. And I want to let our viewers know that, John, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. John is on his way back into the Zoom. So thank you for sticking with us.
And what people may not know is that when John, I guess anyone who's familiar with the way that a photographer works, that it takes many, many images before they actually get that one perfect image. So a lot of work. People tend to think that photography is kind of an instant art form, and it's probably just the opposite. And a lot of work has gone into the images. And especially what happens back in his studio when he actually does put the cotton into the images.
Absolutely. You know, this is not going into the, you know, the field of cotton with an iPhone. When we saw the image of John sitting, you know, he has equipment, and he's getting in there. He's on the ground, and he was, you know, he talked about, you know, one year there was so much rain, and trying to get the perfect day to be able to get out there. And, you know, as taken as I am by the images of, I think it's at sunset, when there's cotton as far as the eye can see, I can only imagine what it was like to actually be there in that field where, you know, as he discovered, some of his ancestors, you know, may have picked cotton in that very field.
Some of all of our ancestors may have picked cotton.
Exactly.
In that very field. Yeah. And actually, we did have the opportunity to go back to John's studio and spend the day there with him shooting with his assistant and himself. And there really is a lot of work that goes into, you know, what he does. And there's John. Looks like
there he is. Oh, we were just talking about you.
And there is his assistant. Yeah, John, we were just talking about when we came out for our shoot with you there in the studio. And it was wonderful because we got to actually watch a little bit of the process of working there with your assistant on the pieces. And I was saying it takes a lot of time before you come up with just that perfect image.
Can you hear us, John?
Are you hearing us, John?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay.
Yeah, now finally, I got cut off completely. He dropped me out of the meeting.
All
right, so we're back via phone now. We're back via phone now.
Okay.
All right.
So we were just talking about what it must have felt like being out there for the days and days that you were out there on the field, getting the images that, for one, that spectacular image that you got at sunrise or sunset, the wide shot with the cotton. What was it like? What were you experiencing actually out there on the field as you were shooting?
Well, the first thing was that this was the first time that Francis and I even attempted it, because when we were down south, when the sun went down, I remember
Mm,
Francis, we gonna keep shooting? I said, this isn't Harlem, baby. We're getting back to the hotel, so it's
mm,
safer. But in Hobgood, North Carolina, mayor, this farmer just sort of loved us. And I said, I want to try this night shot. And he said, well, do I bring lights? I said, no, I'm just going to try to shoot it. And he and his, they said, well, can we watch? And they watched me do this 30-second exposure, back and forth and stuff. So that was the first time that I really attempted that. And actually in 19, we went back and I spent almost the entire time attempting to photograph in the dark, which is an interesting experience because you can't focus in the dark. Pardon me. So it was quite an experience. And when I went back in 19, it was really a heavy experience to be photographing when all you got is moonlight. I'm just imagining I'm seeing spirits and all kinds of things running around.
mm,
And so it was quite an experience. But I've had experiences all the time. When the second day out there, when I was shooting in the very, very beginning, I just cried and cried and cried. And finally I can get myself to work. Other times I've been out photographing and I'm photographing something that's in front of the camera, but out of the corner of my right eye, I think I see something moving. And I look over there, there's
mm.
nothing there. And so I'm going back and then it happens again. And I say, Francis, did you see that over there? And she said, don't start again. Don't start again. I hear you, you're coming, you're bringing them back. Your grandmother's talking to you, just listen to her, but don't tell me, so. But anyway, yeah, it's been quite a thing. Uh-huh.
And John, Karen had posed a really great question earlier, and about had you ever shared the work with the farmers afterwards?
Actually, that was weird. Yes, with the last farmer I did. Yeah, with David Mayer, yeah, I did. I sent him some photographs and things. And when I came back, he actually had some of the photographs that I had, at a little display. There was a little cotton festival and he had my photographs up in the cotton festival. Yeah, so he did, yeah. And he introduced us to all kinds of people because he still marveled that I could spend all this time photographing this cotton. And one instant, for example, one morning we got up and I think this was in 17. And I said, oh, we got to photograph that. He said, what are you talking about? I said, don't you see the dew on the cotton? And he looked at it and he said, oh my God. He only been working at cotton for 20 years. He had never seen the dew on the cotton.
But
And I
John,
was
do you think he
photographing.
did you think he understood what you were trying to say? Or did he just look at them more as beautiful images of cotton? Or did you ever have discussions with him about, what the message behind?
Well, in one way, he did, because he started telling me stories about his grandmother who was short, who picked cotton in Texas and the effect of it. And at one point, I did tell him, that I was out here because I had dreams about my grandmother and stuff like that. And I never I kept it with the cotton. I stayed away from the politics, because especially when it's back with his wife and stuff. We just, I kept it with the cotton because I didn't want to I wasn't down to deal with them with the issue. I wanted to get what I wanted to get. And he was being very cordial and helpful. Like one time I was down, then I'm up on a tractor, photographing from a tractor and everything, and stuff. So, and no one had ever done that for me before. So and he just sort of, and I remember once looking at something and I said, that feels like it. And he said, what are you talking about? I said, that sort of really feels like my grandmother hugging me. That really feels like it, So in a way, inadvertently, I was dealing with it, but I wasn't coming out and dealing with the issue of this was about slavery and it's about this in a country and stuff. I stayed with the cotton, so.
You said they were also on display at some of the places around town. What kind of feedback did you get from other people there
Well,
locally?
Actually, when we went back in 19, we were there when they had their cotton festival. And so when they had their cotton festival, I had sent him some smaller pictures and he had them all framed and they were around, and a number of people came up to me and said, they're so beautiful. And they talked about it, like, how did you know what to shoot it? And you shoot in the evening and early in the morning. And two photographers came up to me and they just started talking like, what kind of camera you shooting with, what thing is the light and stuff and things. And we sort of, what we said, technically got down, so. So,
John,
I mean,
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Finish your thought. I'm sorry.
No, so I'm just saying it was the work was well received. It really was. It was that and some said, well, you should send off, there are contests for cotton. He said, you really should send your stuff off to that, so. Anyway, at that time, when that was at 19, and that time we weren't there short, the crop wasn't so good, and I was photographing at night. My focus was trying to photograph at night, so I stayed away from the other.
And I have a question from our chat. Hello, John. Do you think it would be possible to capture the essence of cotton by painting and sculpting? Do you believe photos bring the cotton to life in ways that painting and sculpture cannot? Would you ever go back to sculpting and painting?
Well, I don't mean to interrupt. I think absolutely any medium can capture this. If you have the feeling, you get the feeling, you can bring it out. And I happen to be doing it with a camera, but I mean, all I can say is give me a minute. There might be some paintings and watercolors and some more prints coming up, so I think all that is potentially possible, and it's how you are at that segment of your life. You think about how you feel about it, and as I was telling one of my ex-students, he says, why do you do something like that? I says, well, sometimes I cry, and that's when I have to work, so.
I feel now in trips to New York that I've taken since cotton, I can feel its presence there, as I walk around, particularly in the financial district.
Oh yeah, ooh, absolutely.
It's there. It's like the your lens kind of illuminated, the spiritual realm.
Right.
And once you're aware of it, you can't escape it.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that a lot of us, people, including myself, had never heard of Seneca Village.
Oh, you'd be surprised. So many people have never heard of Seneca, and so many people also said, like, you mean there was a slave market down, in New York City, down on Pearl? You mean that? And I said, I was as shocked as you were. That's all I can tell you. I was as shocked as you were. And so, but then other things start coming up. I discovered Washington Square you know, and then I first discovered Washington Square. I heard a story about Rose Butler. She's a 19-year-old indentured slaver who had got angry at the woman working for her and had set the house on fire, and she burnt a total of 3 steps. They locked her up, and then the building burnt down while she was incarcerated. But they assumed she knew who did it. They hung her in where the fountain is now in Washington Square. They built a scaffolding and she was hung there. You know, and so that started opening up about Washington Square. Then I found out that, you know, in 1644, there were like 12 also indentured servants who were working, you know, and they were given land and to raise farms and stuff. But because there was an Indian war going on and they were the buffer zone, that's why it was there. So there's lots of stories and things you get reading and things in it. And some of the things I get excited about the ideas about it, because it helps me generate images and everything. But I absolutely fell in love with Rose Butler. I had this love affair with this woman, and she was like a little Robin Hood-esque, because she would steal and take the girls out for carriage rides and stuff and give people money and stuff. And she wasn't a conformist at all. She was raised and sane all the way. So I did a lot of work about her and stuff like that. So, okay.
And I remember, John, there's so much, you know, being in your studio, and you would have stacks of research.
Yeah.
So can you talk about that some, the use of archives and the Historical Society, and how that kind of became part of the work?
You get a lead in from a book, and then we do searching and we find articles online, and it leads to more articles and things and reading. And I'm saying, well, that's interesting. And a lot of times there's things that I can't use but it usually leads to something else. And I was never a great historian, and I'm not a great historian, but I love getting information about what really happened. A lot of times it's painful, it's shocking, but at the same time, that helps me generate images, you know?
But managing to, you know, the latitude and longitude of the location of some of the buildings in Seneca Falls.
Oh yeah, well,
no, that took a lot.
Listen, Seneca went insane because I went and took a tour. Francis and I took a tour, and the guy was taking us around. He had this map. I said, "Can I buy one of these?" He said, "Well, oh no." I said, "Well, I can't." He said, "Oh no." I said, "You do me a favor, hold it up." He held it up and I photographed it. And then we went home, and with the assistant I had then, and we did it up, and we started doing some map placements. So I actually located where buildings actually were. And then I went back and photographed that spot today. And then I superimposed my invention of what could have been or should have been or something over top of it. And also my sense of like spirituality, like I have lots of things with floating cotton and things like that. And that's just what I felt. And I was trying to convey a real feeling like that. And someone said, but there's no cotton in Central Park. I said, we are the cotton. That's what the thing is for me. So that's, you know, okay. I hope that answers your thing.
I'm just curious, is there anything in the park itself that actually tells people about this history? Are there any historical markers?
Yes,
or?
There is a marker. There is a marker. I've been told there might be a monument soon. I don't know. I haven't, you know, I do Seneca Village and I did so many other things. And then I start working on projects in Philadelphia and stuff. And then, you know, I keep going, but I haven't, someone said, well, you should be trying to do that. Well, we'll see. Maybe, you know, it's sort of, I mean, that's the way it's developing at the moment. So, you know.
So what's the process? I was just wondering with the dancers, of course, I'm intrigued with the dancers. Did you first just photograph the dancers without the idea of putting the cotton in the images, or was that your idea all
No.
along?
Listen, one wonderful afternoon, you see, my wife, girlfriend then, she lives in Harlem. She's at 132nd Street. So I sort of walk around, and I've been working for about 5 years, sort of photographing Harlem on the street. And normally I don't photograph people. I mean, I shoot from above in a way because people terrify me, you know, and I've had actually some calls in where people were coming after me in Harlem. But this one afternoon at 125th Street at Adam Clayton Powell, at the statue there, the drummers drum around it. This one afternoon, I went by and they was first playing, and then this one dancer, Kay, she got up and started dancing. And then there's a fellow who plays a bell and stuff, and they started going with your stuff, and it just turned into a thing. And I was shooting. First, I was shooting, trying to hide that I wasn't shooting. Then I just said, you know, I'm trying to hold the camera down low, trying to hold the thing up. And it just got to it was just so beautiful. I shot about 400 shots that day. And then a bunch out of focus, but a lot really in focus. But it just was such a feeling. I mean, that's Harlem. I mean, it hit, and people were coming by. It's amazing. I mean, I remember one beautiful woman came by and she didn't stop, but you knew she knew, and she just danced on down the street past it. It was just such a beautiful experience. So I photographed that, and then afterwards, I was looking at the photographs and things like a particular scene. I'm saying, that's just not right. And my sister, what are you talking about? It's not right. Come on, let's look through the cotton. So we go through my cotton inventory and say, all right, we're gonna put some cotton here and some something like that. And then we stopped and she said, oh, I said, we're on the plantation, but they were connecting with the past. They had really connected with it. And so I felt I had to put the cotton in, and it just made me feel good. It was on it, you know.
We have a couple more questions, but first I was wondering, let's pull up a couple of images. I know I have a couple of questions regarding specific images. I don't know if we have this one, but I have a question about the image of the man lying down in the, there's
Oh yeah, well that's
yes,
the dancer. I know the one you're talking about. I know the one with the man lying down.
Yes,
And
there was a question.
You're right. This corner, I mean, I've had more experiences at 125th Street than I can tell you. And this was Adam Clayton Powell. This is I remember it was this one day in a March, and it was cloudy and stuff. And it was chilly. And I'm walking up and I see this guy on this table sitting there like he's praying, you know, and I'm going like, I don't believe this. And I stood there and I watched and I watched. And finally it hit dawns on me, duh, you better photograph this. So I started photographing it. And then when I got back home in the photograph, I'm saying, hey, this got to have some cotton. Because he was definitely in touch with the ancestors. He had the thing, the healing table and stuff too. And a lot of people were stopping and watching and looking. There's a certain kind of presence and thing about that. And so that's how that's shot. And another one that was simply also on this corner, but a little further up, it was in the plaza, was that there were a group of poets performing. And this one young man did this thing that I did a picture called The Poet, and it was just like, I did it. The photograph was fine. I could have done it regular. I said, no, it's another thing. He was reading about history and stuff he needed to come. And that, so I just added a thing. And also, I mean, the way the country is set up, I mean, with all kinds of things, I have this thing that we have to pay attention to who we are. We have to attempt to fight for what we need to be. And so I use cotton. This thing is that they want to keep us with this idea or concept about what I call on the plantation. And so I bring it up. But I'm trying to make beautiful images. I mean, I got some more that I'm about to work on now, so I float back and forth. Okay.
So John, those are two of my favorites that we were just talking about. But are you the photographer who walks around with your camera all the time just because you don't know what you're going to come up on? Or do you go out with the intent of shooting something specifically?
The different situations. When I'm working on a project right now with Rittenhouse Square, I'm going out to shoot something specific. I got a goal in mind, I got things, and I use props and it's set up. When I'm in Harlem, sometime I just go to feel it, and I go and shoot. And in Marcus Garvey Park, I discovered a group of chess players. It took me 2 or 3 times going before they would let me photograph. And I photographed these. They're really intense, and they're just beautiful, beautiful guys. And they talk more stuff, like, oh, that was a piggyback move. I mean, come on, you play better than that, and so it's like a whole society is something. And then I found another place in Marcus Garvey's Park where the drum circle, and they used to come, they're having hassles now, but they used to come like every Saturday, afternoon, and these drummers would play. I mean, and then sometimes people dance, and it was just a wonderful experience of getting what I call getting more in touch of who I am, and it's just, sometimes it's just wonderful. You just see something and you almost cry. Woo, we are really pretty black. We're really pretty black, and it's wonderful. And I'm proud.
You should be. Are you ever out and sorry that maybe you don't have your camera with you? Have you ever felt like you missed a shot because you didn't have your camera?
Well, sometimes I do. I sometimes, that's why a lot of times I tell people, like, I'm really an artist with a camera. I'm a project man. Like, for example, at one point, this was in 15, and I said, Francis, let's go. She says, it's dark outside. What do you mean, let's go? And we're in Harlem. I said, I'm going to photograph the block. How are we going to do that? So I have a tripod, set the camera up, and I shoot a little bit, and I move it and shoot a little bit, move it and shoot a little bit. So I put this photograph together that's almost this whole block, half of which doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. All right. And so that's like a project. And then I once talked myself into the state office building, and I photographed, 125th Street there, and complete. And this is when, very early on, I photographed the Stereo Museum in Harlem and stuff, that block. I photographed it at night doing the thing, but shooting through windows and stuff. And I'm always talking myself into situations where I can get an advantage to get a particular angle and stuff, because I'm really interested in a space and movement and stuff and things about time. So So I do shoot a lot from up, but I don't walk around trying to shoot portraits. I don't, I've shot more portraits of my wife than anybody I know, and that's very few, and but anyway, the ideas keep coming, and the camera currently is the tool.
I have just a couple more questions and comments from our chat. One from, let's see, I must say that the political and human rights issues are overwhelming. And even if you don't directly confront this with the farmers, all the history of all this needs to be disseminated for all of our benefit.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I have another one. Thank you, John, for giving life to things the world would like to ignore or maybe forget. I was fortunate to have met you in Philadelphia at the Philadelphia Museum of Art back in 2019. Your work is inspiring and gives me hope for unity and makes me continuously interested in my history and past. I thought that was wonderful. I think that is all that's in there for now.
And I would agree. I think even though we're talking about John's images and photographs, people may not know just what a wonderful artist he is. And we're very lucky to have him right here in the city of Philadelphia, because John is big. Very big.
Absolutely.
And like John, when you're going out to shoot people, you talked a little bit about the chess players being a little hesitant to let you shoot. I wonder what they're thinking when you're shooting. Do they think you're just a person on the street wanting to take pictures? And I wonder how they would feel if they actually knew that John E. Dowell Jr., this very renowned photographer, was actually taking their images.
Some of them I've given pictures. I've given them pictures. I've given the dancers pictures too. In the beginning, I'd go to shoot and people, some of them would say no to everything. And finally, one of them said, leave me alone. He's not bothering anybody. He's sort of capturing our culture. And I said, God, he picked it up. Woo! He wants to capture our culture. They really have this, in Marcus Garvey Park, they got this group, this society of those people of chess that's really important. It's a wonderful thing, but he picked it up. And one of them said, he's just gonna go make money on him. He says, come on, man, that guy's all, well, look at it, you ain't gonna get any money on anything.
Little do they know, right?
Well, it's, hey, I mean, I still got all the pictures. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah.
And John, what about the, the exhibition at AMP was so multisensory. You included the music that was playing in the galleries. People could touch cotton. They could walk through the installation piece. Could you talk a little bit about how, how the project has gone even beyond the photographs?
Well, that was, to me, has been my ultimate presentation, that one of the times I felt I made a complete statement. I brought the idea up. I could bring out all aspects of it, and even, I'd done the exhibition in upstate New York, and I came back, and Francis is saying, what's wrong? I say, it's not right. Then I said, I gotta do the music. Because Big Mommy, I hear the music. And so I did the music and thing. And then had been working with Zane Booker with the dancers. And I said, that's gonna make the idea more complete, to get the feeling of what it's about. Because I'm just trying to provide a stimulus to get the individuals to see how they respond to this kind of material, how they respond. Because that's what happened to me was so important that, okay, I'd read about cotton stuff, but after my grandmother got with me and after spending time in the cotton field, it became truly personal. It was not just something in a book.
Beautiful.
I think, Dejay, we're all getting a little, everyone who didn't get a chance to actually see this exhibition, I think you're going to start getting a lot of phone calls and emails about, maybe putting this exhibition on again. Just teasing us a little bit too much.
Yes, it was truly, truly remarkable. And just having this conversation is taking me back to that time. And I truly miss it. Just being able to work with John. I met him early in my career, and he's had such a profound impact on me. So it was absolutely wonderful. We're actually drawing close to the end of our time together for ArtBreak today. Time really does fly when you're in the room with genius. So I'm just so pleased. Thank you, John Dowell.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Please, everyone, you can check out the segment again in full. It's on the WHYY website.
It is, and also it's on the WHYY website. And I'd also like to invite everybody to tune in to Movers and Makers tonight at 7:30 p.m. because we have a very special Valentine's episode that I think a lot of folks will really enjoy. And it's called Made with Love, and it's about some kind of different ways to celebrate love. And it really is something for everyone. So 7:30 tonight on WHYY.
Thank you, Karen. And John Dowell, you can actually see John Dowell again. He's going to be in conversation on the 24th of this month with Ruth Naomi Floyd at 6 p.m. You can register for that on AMP's website. We're just so pleased. And our chat now, people are saying thank you and clapping, and thank you for all of your beautiful work, John.
Thank you.
And we just thank you. We thank everybody for joining us today.
Yes.
Come
And
back
thank
again
you
for
for
part
having
2.
me.
Oh, always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. Right.
An absolute
Okay,
pleasure.
Judy. Okay.
We'll be back with part 2 of our WHYY Movers and Makers series on the 25th, 12:30 p.m. We hope to see you there. And until then, please enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. Thank you. From the African American Museum in Philadelphia.
Bye.
Right.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Troy, you say